it's really at a community supply level rather than a bulk supply level. So maybe as Amatola Water's footprint increases into the province and we start moving further east, we may consider more groundwater into the future. But right now, where we are at, not yet. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, Saga, also want to probably, you want to talk to the municipality and...
Thanks. I think the comment on my side was from the on groundwater, on the water security presentation. I think, thanks. I think my comment is around on the groundwater. It was just interesting to see in terms of the data that we have so much groundwater within the province. I didn't know that. And I think I was whispering to my colleague here, to TWS, to say that we've got so much groundwater as presented, but if you look at the ground, we've got boreholes, but they don't have water. And probably we should also look at the process, because I know that part of the reasons is that groundwater is used, or drilling of boreholes as an emergency thing. So there's no proper study that is being done. We just drill, and unfortunately we've got elections that are coming. There will be a lot of that. So it's things that we also need to say how the process, where do we lock or unlock to avoid such. And also if you look at the number of boreholes, I think after COVID as well, it increases the drilling, of course. It was based on the funders. Everyone wanted to help when it comes to water, but the proper study has not been done. So the processing in which the groundwater, because the other studies on the other countries, it took long, about 5 years or 6 years to approve such, as opposed for us. As you drill, you look for hydrological person, they drill, the water is there, within a week, there's nothing. So there's something that we're missing that we're not doing. Thanks, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just... You want to speak to that? Okay.
No, this is going to have to, we must live at least with one solution. We can't just be noting questions and then going back. We spent $1 million to come here. I appreciate the question, and I'm going to ask Wandile to speak to it. And that's exactly what the problem is. And for municipalities to note, these boreholes are part of assets. What's the asset management? Because when you're saying you drill and then they don't yield water, then it is a driller that drilled. It's not a hydrologist that did the geophysics and the this and the that, and to know the geology, and because those guys will drill anywhere. I always talk about the big challenge that we have in the country. If you live in an estate, because of the challenges of water availability, they will drill a borehole in your yard, next door, and that's not how groundwater is supposed to be developed, because it's a business. Yet we sit at municipalities and we don't say, this is creating a challenge for us, because the water that feeds the rivers comes from the groundwater. The water that feeds groundwater comes from the rivers. So the science is clear. But we're not thinking ahead to say, as part of sustainability, this is one source and we have to protect it. So that is the first. And then the second part is that, like you're saying now, there's going to be elections and then we're going to be drilling. It is exactly the question we are asking. Where is this going to happen? How is it going to happen? The data is there. I think Wandile can speak to it in terms of what is available, so we don't go repeating these, spending a lot of money and having water for 2 days and then it's gone. And we do not even by contract. What is our SLAs with these drillers? Because you can't just have somebody drill and what's the guarantee of the borehole? Because if it can't guarantee you water for 5, 10 years or whatever, you need to call them back to say you drilled and it didn't yield. So it is how we are technically not applying the science, the correct science. Because if you don't have a groundwater person in municipality, you're going to have the consultant working together with the driller to come and drill and go and make money. So for me, I think that's one of the key actionable items that we must start with where groundwater development within the province will take place? Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. And I also think that there is an intersection between the universities, specialists in groundwater, the municipalities, the DWS, because they own the water resource, as well as WROC. And we really need to then begin to build capacity in this area, especially in the municipalities. All right. Wandile, you want to speak? Maybe you want to speak to that? Okay. Briefly, and then we'll go to the next session, please.
No, yeah, the problem that they raised about groundwater drilling, let me tell you, groundwater occurs everywhere and anywhere, but its sustainability is what scientists or hydrogeologists should be determining. The groundwater recharge. And when you drill a borehole and there's water, you've got to pump it for 72 hours non-stop. That's using the constant, so there will be a blow test yield, and then this is yield test. And you do that continuously to check the sustainability of that and to determine how much you can take out of that storage, groundwater storage out over a period. And the problem is now you get these people coming to drill, and then there's water, and if there's water, just take that water and, without determining its sustainability. The second part of the problem is groundwater has been declared as a national asset under the National Water Act. And no one is allowed to go and sink a borehole without telling the department, registering that borehole with the department, isn't it? Yeah, but people still willy-nilly go drill, and they don't tell the department, and the department does not know. And what the CEO is saying is that somebody is going to drill here, and another one is going there, and they are tapping from the same groundwater source, and it's going to deplete, because the pumping rate from there is going to be higher, and then higher than the recharge, and then it's going to deplete that resource, and it dies. Yeah.
Thank you, Wandile.
Thanks. Afternoon. I'm Lamli Mabulu from MISA, in Municipal Infrastructure Support. My question, or rather my comment, is going to go to Dr. Nontandla. I think she mentioned that they are instituting an aspect of people, that is engineers, to overlook at the municipalities that are not performing well or who are have limited resources in terms of doing such activities. I think it's important that the engineers that we have, they are registered with the Engineering Council of South Africa. They sign a code of conduct. There was a comment as well from OTP. They take advantage of the Eastern Cape because the people within the municipalities do not have an understanding of what's supposed to be done. Our municipalities are failing us because of they are also appointing the people within the municipality who does not know what they are supposed to be doing. And of course, if the engineers come, they will definitely take an advantage because if it's a business. The more the project, the more you change the scope, the bigger the profits, the better for that person. But what we do, or what I would advise, it's important that you consult with the Engineering Council of South Africa, give out that engineer who designed the road of Sandral in a small section within the municipality. But also, I think the CEO has left. I think maybe the universities also, they need to work with us in terms of the cultural change of our communities. Our communities are from the very poor sort of environment, Transkei, Eastern Cape, but the culture. I heard there was the mention of the drones to oversee the vandalism within our municipalities. I'm afraid that we do support the municipalities in terms of the infrastructure money, but and then we like the stores, the material is here today, then tomorrow is not there, and then you supply the money, but you don't see what is happening. then I'm afraid even the drones will get lost, you know. So it's important that we work more on the culture, on the culture of our people, and so that they can understand the importance of all of this for the benefit of all. Thanks on that one.
Thank you. With your permission, please let's now move to the next session. I will invite Mr. Tabo to talk to us on National Dam Citation Program.
Thank you, and good afternoon to everyone. I'm going to talk on the National Dam Siltation Management Program. It's not really my program. I'm representing a colleague who could not attend, so I might not get into depth with the actual conversation, but I'll try my best. So my background is in technology transfer, and before I even start, when I heard the discussions before, I actually recognized that people don't realize that there's so much technology that is available, and the WRC can actually offer it. In terms of the drilling of the bowls, we've got a technology called HydroBlue, which was developed by UKZN, where you can actually identify where the water is and you don't have to drill multiple times. So it's just an opening to state that. Now, in terms of the National Dam Siltation Strategy, now, this program is a partnership between the DWS, which is the Department of Water and Sanitation, and the WRC. And in this, we are actually developing a strategy for dam siltation. Now, this is one of the programs where we're moving from research to actual impact, where actually we're taking all the research we've done all through the 50 years of existence, and we're going to implement it into a strategy that will be used by national government to change and institutionalize dam siltation management. Now, the first phase started between 2020 and 2022, and the second phase was in 2023, and the third phase is actually currently going on and is about to end, I think, in the next year, 2026. Now, this is all about water security and operational efficiency. Now, why do we need the strategy? You saw, I think Bonani actually presented about the dams. Every year, 0.4% of all dams are being silted in the country. And 99% of all our water comes from surface water. And you can see the problem that is going to occur. Very soon, we will not have enough water. And already the estimates say by 2030, the country will not be able to meet the demand of water. So we do need this strategy to actually maintain our current dams and their capacity. Now, we want to improve water security. We want to develop things around training and capacity building, and also beneficiation and socioeconomic development. Now, this program looks at everything. When I say everything, it looks at this as a system, where we look at the people who are working, we look at the processes, we look at the technology, and we look at the information flow. And we want to institutionalize dam siltation management and mainstream it within the DWS's daily water operations. Now, the implementation approach has been around research and data analysis, like I said, all the things that we've done before, strategies, tools, systems development, pilot site implementation, validation and modification, and also partnerships around community engagements. Now, the strategy started through the dam sediment sustainable system modeling, which followed into a dam operations model, and is now looking at a sustainable dredging model. For those who don't understand what dredging is, it's when you remove the actual sand or the sediment from the rivers to increase the capacity of the dams. Now, what are the achievements and progress to date? What we've completed are 4 accredited registered skills programs. Now, to the audience here, Rhodes University, NMMU, all the Eastern Cape universities can actually go to the QCTO, take these qualifications and offer them in the province. so that people can be qualified in terms of dam siltation management. We have trained facilitators and moderators and assessors around these programs. We've piloted a siltation model in 2 catchment areas. We have tested DCOM on a dam to be constructed, and we now have an augmented e-learning platform which is operational. What is in progress, still to be finished, we took these registered programs and we've shortened them with the University of Johannesburg, and we are creating a siltation dashboard within the country, and we want to institutionalize siltation management within the country. And my favorite, of course, we are demonstrating the vortex settling basin in KZN in Kandla, which is supposed to almost, I wouldn't say replace, but augment technologies such as hydrocyclones, but it does not use electricity, and we see it as a sustainable alternative for abstraction of water in silted rivers and dams. And we've also done validated dredging protocols and user manuals. Now, with the e-learning platform that we've developed, with also recognition of prior learning framework, allows people through the DWS, because we've already transferred this program to the DWS Learning Academy, where anyone who wants to actually get a qualification in terms of being a dam siltation manager can do this online through the DWS. You can also be a dam siltation practitioner, a dam siltation controller, and a dam siltation network and partnership coordinator. So this also, for the students in the room, this could be a way for you to actually augment your qualifications after you graduate, and also open opportunities for you for employment. Now, the short learning programs, like I said, which have been developed with the University of Johannesburg, again, will be around dam siltation manager, dam siltation practitioner, dam siltation controllers, and dam siltation network and partnership. So these will be very short courses that can be offered without you actually getting the full qualification, and you get a certificate around them. Now, the future outlook and next steps for this program are, we are refining and finalizing the national dam siltation strategy for artificial adoption by the DWS in 2025. We're looking at institutional implementation, that is integrating siltation management into DWS policy operations and maintenance by 2026. We're also looking at finalizing tools, models, and user manuals. We are scaling the pilot successes that we've actually undertaken and replicating proven solutions in other catchment areas. We're also undertaking monitoring and evaluation, which involves continuous progress tracking to ensure long-term sustainability. And we're looking into further capacity building, that is expanding training initiatives and enhancing the e-learning content, and this is ongoing. And lastly, community and stakeholder engagement, that is what we're doing right now. And sustainability after 2026, we want this to be adopted institutionally by the country. We want policies to change around dam siltation management. Like I said in the beginning, there are 4,700 to about 4,900 dams in the country. And if they're being silted every year, very soon we won't have water, surface water. And we want to integrate this with WRC and the DWS mandates, and we're looking for continued collaboration. Thank you, and that's the end of the presentation.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for keeping to time. Thank you, Tabo. Okay, Dr. Namo. Building resilience in agriculture sector through water, energy, food nexus approaches. Thank you, Doc.
Good afternoon, And I would like to take the opportunity to thank everyone who is present here. Consider, I thought that after lunch many people would have gone and I would be speaking to very few people, but they refused to go. Laksonam is my name, from the Water Research Commission, from a thematic area called water use. I'm going to speak about transforming agriculture water management through the water energy food nexus, some of the work that we have done. And I was so happy to see Prof. Mod here, one of the best minds the country has. I've worked with him for some time, and some of the work I'm going to do here, I've done it with him. Right, just to give a perspective, the challenges, the water challenges the country is facing, remember these challenges are not controlled by political boundaries. They don't recognize the grand challenges that we face. They are not controlled by political boundaries. And just to give a perspective of the water sector challenges, I want to start with Southern Africa, the region that affects us, and how South Africa fares with the water stress. You can see we are in the red, highly stressed country. We are the 30th driest country in the world, and over 60% of our available freshwater resources are allocated to agriculture, which means we need to do something, because the population is increasing, there will be more, the industry is increasing, there will be more demand for water resources. Most of the available freshwater resources in the region are already allocated, leaving little room for economic development. Then the regional agriculture plan, the SADC agriculture regional plan, proposed to increase irrigated area by almost 500,000 hectares by 2030 within the next 5 or 4 years. But the question is, where the energy? Where is the water? And in South Africa alone, the NDP says we should increase the irrigated area by 45,000 hectares by 2030. But the question is, where is the energy to draw the water from its source to the field, to the agricultural field? I'm going to expand this in my coming slides. Then climate change pressures continue to exacerbate the existing challenges. I'm going to elaborate further on that. And Southern Africa has suffered droughts. We are in a climate change hotspot region. We have suffered otherwise the West climate change impacts. And based on the population and economic growth projections, Southern Africa's water demands will outstrip supply by 17% by 2030. It's a challenge that we need to solve now. Otherwise, the situation could continue being dire. And agriculture already consumed about 60%. We need to reduce this. I've already mentioned this. And regional challenges of recurring droughts, population growth, these are the tipping regional points that we need to be addressing. The way you are quiet, you frighten me. Therefore, there are 4 major themes that we need to address, that we need to look into. That is, what is driving these challenges that we are facing today? Or what are the tipping national? This is for South Africa now. I've come back to South Africa. What are the national tipping points? We should know them. And what is the risk? And how are we becoming vulnerable? And how do we prepare? These are the research questions. How do we prepare? And how do we recover? Because for me, with a disclaimer, we've already surpassed the 2 degrees percent. I'm going to give you another presentation of the planetary boundaries that we've surpassed. And what we need to do now is to be resilient and to adapt. Because the mitigation, yes, we can still mitigate, but what we need is just to adapt and become resilient. And what are the adaptation and resilience strategies? The tipping points, the national tipping points, the drivers: rapid urbanization, climate change, agriculture expansion, population growth. I left the unemployment at 34% at the moment. And South Africa, at the national level, we are very food secure. But more than, to be specific, 53% of households in the country are food insecure. 53. But at national level, if you go to Checkers, full of food. But how many people can afford that? And 86% of the country's energy comes from coal, which is condemned, which is causing greenhouse gas emissions. I'm trying to bring us together to the three resources or three sectors that are both the culprits and victims. These are water, energy, and food. The challenges that we are facing today are emanating from these three sectors or these three resources. And for example, 98% of the country's water resources are already allocated, leaving only 2% for economic development. And yet agriculture uses 63% of the available free. We should do something. We should enhance water use efficiency in the agriculture sector. And the way we exploit the three: water, energy, and food, the way we exploit them today is also causing these zoonotic diseases or infectious diseases like the COVID, Ebola, and so forth. It's because of the way we're exploiting resources. I give an example. Destroy land for agriculture. Yes, it's a noble reason. The NDP says let's increase the irrigated land by 45,000 hectares. What do we need to do? We need to destroy the forest. It's noble. But at the same time, we are destroying the natural habitats, and animals will come to live with us. And because COVID, this is how COVID started. And how do we prepare? Should you continue with the business as usual and expecting different, repeating the same experiment 10 years, repeating it, doing the same thing, and expecting a change? The challenges that we are facing are interconnected. So you need to change. I'm a water person myself. I'm from the water. I did integrated water resources management. But we just need to change. I was in Zambia and I was saying, the integrated, 20 years applying the integrated water resources, but it remains a concept, there's no model. It remains a concept. There's no model or decision supported system from the integrated water resources management. That's what I do. I challenge the status quo. I interrogate what you are doing. I know I always rattle feathers. People get angry. We need to adopt transformative approaches, nexus planning, which is with nexus, scenario planning, 1 year. These are the terms, novel terms that you are hearing today, which means we need to change. We cannot continue with the business as usual and expect change. The linear model has brought us thus far, but it has reached its threshold. That's obvious. If you continue the business as usual, the consequences can be dire. State and impact of resources in the country, water insecurity, that is the best country in the world. Energy insecurity, it's better these days. I had no need for me to talk further on that. Food insecurity, 53% of households are food insecure in the country. Economic inequality, unemployment. I also blame our education. It develops our young people to look for employment after university. There's no job, there's no work. There's no work. I wanted to give an example, but let me not go there. With nexus, or I can say transformative approaches that we need to embrace. It may not be very clear, but this is very important. Planetary boundaries that regulate global resilience sustainability. The Stockholm Resilience Index has identified 9 of them. 9. And of the 9, these processes regulate the stability and the resilience of the Earth system. The green portion is our limit. Once we exceed this, there's danger. Crossing boundaries increase the risk of large-scale, abrupt, or irreversible environmental damage. Human and environmental health. Someone was talking, I said, wow, that is very good. And by 2023, actually 2025, the one that I was showing you was produced only 2 weeks ago in Dubai. There was a conference in Dubai. We have already, still from 2023 to up to now 2025, we've already crossed the 6 planetary boundaries. And it's irreversible. And we want to continue with the business as usual. It's a challenge to us scientists. Oh, time. Were you doing the same to others? Okay, now let me skip this one. But you're missing people. Okay, this is the water energy food nexus. It's multicentric and intergenerational. We don't only consider about us, but our future children's children's children. I'm rushing, eh? This is one of our projects, an interesting project that we are doing. We are trying to align TVET and agricultural colleges' curricula. At WRS, we have developed a lot of models. What do you call them? Those booklets? Manuals, we have produced them. So we have a project that started recently, 1 September. This is what we are focusing. I want to speak with my people, but let me, to identify gaps, curricular analysis, these are the steps that we are doing. Okay. And one of our key projects in the water use is the transitioning towards the food for the future. This is Prof. Mondi's area. What are these indigenous, traditional crops or indigenous crops, which are suited to our local harsh climatic conditions? They are adapted, they grow in the world, wild. But today we are using 5 major crops. One, they need fertilizers which pollute our rivers. They need a lot of water. And our children, if you tell them eat more penny worms, they run away. If they see them in the plate, they run away. They want to do McDonald's and Mag and Bean. It's actually, underutilized crops in a climate change adaptation strategy. Let's go back to our roots. And some of the diseases that we are facing today, the cancers have increased, yeah? They are caused by these spaghettis. Our bodies were not meant for spaghetti. Very nutritious, very nutritious. Eh? These days, you think there's money. There's no money there. It's a disease. These slides will be shared with you. The facilitator is staring at me. Yeah, at least that is when when you speak in the afternoon after lunch, you make your people laugh. Okay, these are the 5 crops: maize, wheat, rice, soybean, and all of these. Maybe I don't know potatoes. All these are from somewhere else. They were introduced to us. Why not go back to our roots? We just go there and harvest our mopanworms or those indigenous crops, bambara, groundnut, and so forth, which grow in the wild. These are high input cost. A lot of resources, inputs are used, and they are drought prone. When there's drought, there's drought. Let me not go further. This is one project that we've just completed this year, which was done at Rhodes University on cannabis. You can speak with me, Nestle, if you want to harvest it. This is cannabis. This was done in the study sites were in KZN, Soimane, I think. Then here in the Eastern Cape. These are some of the technologies. The drone. The drone here, we've got a student, she's no longer a student, she's a lecturer now. She graduated from the project that I wrote when I was still at the International Water Management Institute. That is Netemba and Love. People are now standing on the passage listening to what I'm talking about. So these are some of the technology, and this technology, this app here won an international award, only in September, the WhatsApp award. And an interesting thing, you can see Prof mode here. That's why I say Prof mode. We can see Prof mode, Prof mode. So we wanted to be able to manage what you can also measure. Not just talk and talk, but we want to be able to manage. I'm a research manager, so I want to manage what I'm able to measure. So these are some of our documents. And I say thank you. I don't know why you're stopping me. They wanted me to continue.
Are you sure you're supposed to be a researcher? Or something? Thank you, Dr. Namo. A very nice way of presenting to us. Thank you again, Dr. Namo. Okay. Dr. Juba, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. I came up quickly to make up some of the time there. Colleagues, I'm going to change pace a little bit from what Laxon was talking about and get to one of the points that was made earlier this morning around institutional governance, and that some of these things that we're seeing aren't always the actual problem. These are symptoms of the problem. I think you said that this morning, Prof. And that we need to look at how we strengthen our institutions. And I'm going to talk specifically about catchment management agencies, and I've been listening the whole day, like, is someone going to say catchment management agencies? Where do they fit into this whole agenda that we're speaking about? And I haven't heard anything, and I see some of my colleagues at the back there from the CMA, which I'm happy about. So where I come from at the Water Research Commission is I started out in this project called Ecological Infrastructure for Water Security. And during that project, one of the things that we tried to focus quite heavily on is obviously ecological infrastructure and how that relates to our built infrastructure, so the complementarity between the two. Looking at, firstly, how do you create an enabling environment through supportive policies and finance mechanisms? So in that one, we, for instance, looked at the pricing strategy for raw water use charges, and how we can influence that to start incorporating ecological infrastructure a bit more. The finance mechanism side, we worked quite closely with one of the development finance institutions in South Africa, or in Southern Africa, the DBSA. And we've also done some additional work like natural capital accounting. The second one was around, or the second focus area for this was around strengthening on-the-ground implementation, and we worked in 2 priority catchments for this. And then the last one was around knowledge sharing, and that was the part that the WRC was involved in, and that's where I came in. As part of that process came the social learning, knowledge management, and mediation strategy, which was developed here at Rhodes University. But it was developed with quite a wide range of partners within the sector. And it was something that we said, well, it's not really that we are coming up with a whole bunch of new stuff here. This is things that people are already doing, but we needed to find a way to articulate that better and to share that back to the sector, and to use that actually as a tool that we can also help other people to learn how to engage better with their stakeholders, how to be more impactful when they do those engagements, how do they go and change policies. And so one of the things that came out of that was the community of practice that we're doing with catchment management agencies that we have now incorporated into the Water Research Commission. So if you look at that map on that side, those are the 6 water management areas in South Africa. We're currently standing here in the Mzimvubu-Titikama water management area. This was published with the National Water Resource Strategy 3, so it got redelineated at that point. And this is basically a space for us to all get together and discuss challenges, things that affect catchment management agencies, opportunities that are out there, And some of the things that are really important for the CMAs that came out of this process were around financial and operational sustainability. CMAs are heavily dependent on water use charges, which is not a lot. So if you look at what raw water costs in the country, for some water management areas, it would be 3 or 4 cents per 1,000 liters. That's 3 or 4 cents per JoJo tank. Right, so it's not a lot of money that you get from these water use charges. And so we really needed to look at how can we improve or increase the funding flow either through catchment management agencies or look at the partnerships that they can foster within their water management areas. How can we really work with those to increase the impact that they can make within those areas? Now, since 2015, 16, 17, the WRC had already started working on some research for catchment management agencies. And I'm just going to outline some of them up here. So in 2024, I suppose, we started this project on exploring the establishment of a community of practice. Now, for those of you who don't know, for those 6 that I just showed you there, 2 of them were established prior to last year. The rest, the other 4, were operating as proto-CMAs from the regional offices. The pricing strategy for our water use charges then got gazetted last year. And from that, during that process of public consultation, we went out and we developed a short course around the pricing strategy. And we called it the participatory course for building networks around the pricing strategy. And what we really wanted to do was to get everyone to talk together, to get the CMAs and the different water user groups and stakeholders to engage with the department on what they actually intend on putting into that strategy, and also for the department to speak back and to say, well, why some of those things are in there. There was some tensions around there as well that we had to engage. And now, because the strategy is going to be operationalized only in 2026, we still have that opportunity to engage with the department and with the CMAs. The other project is around the reluctant rollout of CMAs. Like I said, some of them have been established a long time ago and the other ones only now. So what were the challenges around there? Some might say there was a little bit of political pushback around it. Others, there's the financial aspect of it. Are these things actually sustainable? So we did some work around that. The pricing strategy also has a component in it that deals with the public interest subsidy. So not all of the stuff that you pay for as a water user is good only for you as the water user. It's actually in the interest of the whole country. So one of the projects that we did was looking at, well, what is the component of each of those charges that could be attributed to a public interest subsidy that you could then go through parliamentary appropriation and actually go in and recover those costs from. I think I'm not going to go through all of these, but we also did some work around the waste discharge charge system. So when you are a municipality or you are a water user who also engages in waste discharges, we also need to start holding those people to account and to say, well, we need to recover costs from you because you are discharging into the water resource. But I think I want to get to this one right at the bottom here, which is one of the big projects that we are currently initiating. And I can't get into too much detail about that because some of you might want to apply for that. But basically what it's looking at is that because CMAs can get their charge or their funds through the water resource or the water use charges, but they can also go and get funds, right? So they can go and get grant funding and they can do a whole bunch of other things to help with their sustainability. So we need to look at all of the suite of things that could potentially assist us in making these institutions as sustainable as possible. And so that's what that project basically is trying to do. So please be on the lookout for that one. I think the other one is probably around the multi-year tariff determination that I think is quite important as well, which says that we can't just keep setting tariffs every year. We need to start looking long-term to see how we can be a little bit more proactive in the activities that we want to do as CMAs and then start charging accordingly. So within the program that we're doing at the WRC, we've identified some challenges that we as the Commission would like to address. And that comes from, some of the challenges that we've identified, but the outcomes then related to those challenges. The first one that we would like to do is to look at improved modes of operation, to look at, well, are CMAs functioning as efficiently as they need to, and what is it that needs to change, either financially or operationally. We need to look at the capacity within the water management areas. We also need to look at the actual improvement in the state of the water resource. And I think the last one is quite important. What we're finding is that water users don't always know what catchment management agencies do, right? And why do we need more of these institutions when we already have water boards, when we have municipalities? What is this one? What value is the CMA adding? And so we need to do a little bit more engagement, a little bit more education for people to start understanding the role of CMAs within the space. We did a little bit of a road trip to the Rietvlei Nature Reserve in Pretoria a few weeks ago. And the reason we went there, because they've got a dam on the reserve, but they've got this river flowing into the reserve and into the dam. And there's a whole lot of raw sewage that's flowing through that river straight into that dam. So there's some wetlands down there, and we're trying to motivate for the protection of those wetlands. But also, this is an issue of compliance monitoring and enforcement. It's not just a wetland fixing issue. You have to get the municipalities involved, you have to get the department involved. We're also suspecting that it's not just sewage, but it's also chemicals and detergents and things that are being thrown into the river. And there's just no accountability on that side. Before I started the WRC, I was also working in the Baviaanskloof area. And this was during that long drought that we had down here in the Eastern Cape. So this was a Koga dam. I think at this point it was probably around 7 or 8%. I think you showed the Mpofu dam this morning at up to 60% it's now. Or was it you? Yeah, it's now up to, well, it's not passing 60%. At the time, it was also less than 10%. And the Baviaanskloof looks like that. So if we're looking at the protection of the areas that have to feed into these dams and then have to feed into our large metros, it can't look like that because there's very little, or there's a lot of evaporation up there. The infiltration is low because everything just flows down. And then you have issues like what Tabo was just talking about, your siltation. So I just wanted to also flag that there's different ways that having non-functioning CMAs can actually impact your water resource. So my take-home messages for this talk, I think the first one, the most important one, is that someone was saying earlier, I think it was Notlantla, that we need to invest in these partnerships. But we also, because the CMAs are the mandated institutions for water resource protection and management, we also need to rally around our CMAs for this one, because this is a new CMA that we're working with here in the Eastern Cape. Okay, so they're going to need a bit of support, not just, like I said, not just money flowing into the CMA, but also to map out what are the institutions that are doing work here. Who are the NGOs, the universities, the municipalities that are already putting funds and resources into this space? How can we leverage of that to ensure that we protect our water resource? The CMA, because it's new, it also has to develop a catchment management strategy, right? And that, for me, is a key and critical area where, as stakeholders, we can all get involved. We can all have our say. We can start having discussions around what does it mean for this water management area to actually be managed properly. Yeah, I think that's my talk. Thank you.
Thank you. Carol, Luba, are you presenting on behalf of Cyber?
I don't have a talk.
Do you have your presentation?
It's in there. Science strategy. Yeah, thank you very much. Well, first and foremost, I would like to thank WRC, Sislengiwe, and Prof. Nelson for giving us this opportunity. I think it was very short notice, and then you managed to squeeze us in. So something that I think it's really important is that I need to really highlight what is SIAB. So SIAB basically, it's the South African Institute for Aquatic Biodiversity. It's a national research facility which is under the NRF or one of NRF business units. Now, today I want to share some of the visions that we have at SIAB and what's really important and something that SIAB is based on, the foundation on the functioning of SIAB. It's really on these four ties, which is transformation, excellent, impact, and sustainability. And what makes SIAB to be quite unique is that it functions in a way that really it's within the strategic priorities of the National Research Foundation, which the first thing, which is quite important, is provision of infrastructure and capacity development, and most importantly, we do science that has societal impact. So something that I think is quite crucial and very important, it's what do we do basically at SIAB, and something that I really want to highlight is that yes, we do quite a lot of publications, we do a lot of public presentations, but what most importantly, which goes to the priorities of the NRF, it's capacity development. There's been quite a number of students that have graduated, and importantly, 57% of those are females, which actually now hits the impact in terms of gender transformation. So something that I think SIAB really did, which is quite excellent, is the provision of these platforms, which are quite mind-blowing in the sense that they cover the entire Southern Africa, from access to state-of-the-art equipment, vessels, to genomics, and assessing things like the physiology of aquatic organisms, which really highlight some of the work that has been highlighted today, such as climate change, and most importantly, tracking the behavior of these aquatic organisms based on these challenges that we have, invasive species, climate change, and most importantly, pollution. So yes, we are based in a very small town in Makanda, but what's more importantly, and what's driving SIAB is actually the presence of SIAB. This is mainly through collaborations with not only local, but also international collaborators, and most importantly, again, through capacity development and students training. So again, something that's the backbone or the foundation of SIAB, it's transformation. I've already mentioned the 57%, and something that, again, we're trying to, or not trying, we're actually excelling, is that we have these joint marine labs with HB universities, or historically black universities, which is the University of Zululand, University of Forte, University of the Western Cape, but I'll go into detail about those particular joint marine labs. But something that I really like to highlight is that one of our scientists, Dr. Nombumbelo Robaso, just got awarded the Jennifer Award just recently on invasive species. So something that's very important is that whatever we do at SIAB, it's strictly and it's aligned to the National Development Plan, more specifically Chapter 5, which mainly looks at food security, and one of their goals is food security. I think this has been highlighted numerous times today. The second theme they really want to look at is inclusive economic development, and one of their goals is that their economic growth grows by 5.4%. The third theme that they're actually looking at is decision making, and this, one of their goals mainly is water resource management. Now, I'll just point out some of their projects that we at SIAB are doing that are actually in line to all of these themes that I are doing. So one of those themes that we're doing is invasive species management, and one of the best lead investigators, Professor Julie Coetzee, is leading that component, and most importantly, the seascape ecology component. Now, in terms of inclusive economic sector, something that I think is quite crucial, it's engineering, because our goal is not only to publish papers, but to actually drive in towards innovation. Now, this actually now highlights the fact that of economic growth. And most importantly, something that we're working on, it's the bioremedication of contaminants. We're working towards, we know what the problem is, but we're now trying to achieve those goals. So decision making, which is quite crucial. Another component that was highlighted today is climate change. These are some of the projects that we're actually working on. Again, invasive species is coming again into the picture, some of the projects that we're actually working on. So the NDP has this goal that it wants by 2030 that no one lives or goes hungry. So we then looked at the way that we're doing, and quite recently we have a project that we are working with the Department of Ethology or Rhodes University, where we're building the Aqua Lab, which is gonna answer that question in terms of inland fisheries, food security. The research that we do will inform decisions or how we manage these inland fisheries resources. So we're not only looking at inland resources, we're looking at estuaries and marine ecosystems, and again, something that's crucial is collaboration. We're working very closely with the Department of Ethology at Rhodes University, and quite a very well-known scientist, Professor Warren Potts, who just got also the Oppenheimer Chair. We're working closely with them, and just to touch on again with the Joint Marine Labs is the Walter Sisulu University Joint Marine Lab. This is quite a crucial one in the sense that now we have community engagement, which again talks to the most of the issues that were raised today by Bonani, that we need a bottom-up approach. Now we're directly working with community and not just have scientists who tell us the story of what's happening and what needs to happen, but now community is directly talking to us. So no one needs to go hungry, but now another goal they have is that they want to reduce unemployment. Now here we really need to really think out of the blocks, because this is a very important question and a very sensitive one. But SIAB is actually situated in a position where we have quite one of the best scientists, Dr. Anton Bernard, where we're actually using BRAVs. So these systems, they actually allow us to actually look at underwater ecosystems and see the biodiversity, what's there, what resources are there, and most importantly, another aspect, which is collaboration. And most importantly, we are developing skills, not skills only in terms of certificates, but skills in terms of actually getting to a workplace, technical skills, and knowledge of how to actually manage freshwater ecosystems. So again, something that's important, the Operation Pakisa, some of the work that we're doing, actually, it's aligned to what Operation Pakisa wants to do. We are moving from basic publication, which is key in terms of the mandate that SIAB has, but most importantly, we're trying to be more innovative to create solutions. So something that, again, the NDP wants to, one of their goals is to actually reduce the dependency of carbon dependency of carbon. So some of the platforms that we have, that like MARIB, these platforms actually give us real-time data in terms of what biodiversity is there, how is it functioning, what efforts are needed actually to restore these ecosystems. These all are the partners that we're working closely with. And again, I said something about the Joint Marine Labs, which I think, again, it's quite a brilliant thing in that all of these infrastructures that SIA provides, they are not only working in isolation, but they actually work hand in hand. And most importantly, this was a brilliant idea in the sense that all of these Joint Marine Labs are based in universities. The marine microplastics laboratory is based in the Western Cape. This needs to quantify what microplastics are there. Ecotoxicology, it's quite crucial. We know what most ecosystems are pollutant, but how are these affecting these aquatic organisms? Biodiversity is quite crucial. With the University of Forte, that's where we discover where we used actually to discover compounds, and again, this which directly communicates with communities at the University of Sisulu. Now, I've been saying this again, this has been brilliant, but the plan is, if something works really nice, we need to actually expand on this. So SIAM now is actually working closely to come and develop freshwater inland labs. And this is very important, again, going to that approach of bottom-up, where we'll be expanding into inland universities. This does not only mean numbers for us, but also rich universities where we'll be providing state-of-the-art equipment to build capacity, to have students that are actually capable of using certain equipment and assessing aquatic ecosystems, and thinking mainly out of the block and out of the box on how to actually tackle issues that are facing South Africa or Africa actually. Now, I'll try and wrap up what's happening at SIAB. We're based almost all around South Africa, but the nice thing about this is that, again, all of these platforms, they work really nice. From the vessels that we took every now and then to see, it's quite amazing the work that they do, where we deploy the BRAVs, we need to see what's happening, the real life. It's different when you capture organisms and take them to the lab. They might behave differently. So the BRAVs are there to tell us what's happening. How are the fish interacting? What changes are happening in terms of climate change? The genomics will tell us, because we need to understand what species we're talking about. We really cannot manage something we really do not know. And most importantly, something that I personally manage is the aquatic ecophysiology platform, which I think it's quite a brilliant idea that SIAB actually does, is that it ties everything nice together. Climate change, microplastics, how does the fish behave in terms of its movement. Now, in terms of movement, another platform, which is the acoustic platform with Dr. Dina Mukari did, is that these challenges, climate change, fish move from one place to another. And these things, they affect our livelihoods. But we need to understand what's driving the fish to move from one area to another. How can we actually help in terms of informing local communities as what are the impacts of climate change, the pollution. So again, a similar situation what's happening. In terms of inland fisheries, this resources is quite vital. But the thing is, we need to actually communicate what's happening really nice. So something that I think is quite crucial, it's also funded by the Water Research Commission, it's eDNA. Yes, Uba Bonani mentioned this, that driving a 4x4 going up and down, it's exhausting, there's a lot of cost involved, but eDNA now tries and reduce that. Sorry, I'm just gonna go a bit forward. So the vision of the NRF is to actually continue to provide knowledge, to provide knowledge, to tackle issues such as food security, water security, but most importantly, the vision, it's just a vision if we're not having partners such as the Water Research Commission. So the Water Research Commission, those are the people that are actually enabling that vision. So lastly, where are we going? Yes, we have a vision going to 2030, but we need to actually move, get going. You can't stop at 2030. So again, we need to continue being innovative, but most importantly, we need to collaborate with quite a wide variety of people and institutions. And some of the projects, just to end up, just to finalize my talk, some of the projects that were funded, this was back in 2014, where we did some work in the Rondakhat, where we were trying to rehabilitate using Rotanon, a very well thought out project. A lot of students were involved in this project, which actually addresses the issue of capacity development. And now, what we're actually working on now, what I've just mentioned, is the eDNA project in the Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and KZN, also funded by the Water Research Commission, a very important project on inland fisheries in the Limpopo, which actually directly addresses or will inform the implementation of the inland fisheries. So Lastly, a project again on microplastics is a project led by Dr. Tatenda Dalo from Albany Museum, is looking at microplastics. And thank you very much. Sorry, I got excited.
I see that when you're in a university or close to a university, you talk a lot. but the practitioners from the Water Research Commission, they know how to keep to time. They know it, eh? Thank you. Okay, so colleagues, this is the time for us to now, we have a bit of time to engage some of the presentation this afternoon and even the earlier presentation. So this is a time for us to put our heads together. A lot of innovations have been presented, a lot of challenges as well, some solutions. So I know that it's a bit tiring at this time, but maybe we can use the last bit of energy to engage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I want to greet everyone. My name is Vusim Tombeni. I just want to, in fact, I think it's strategic that I speak soon after the speaker who has just come out. First, I need to declare I'm one of the beneficiaries of the Water Research Commission, even though the speaker didn't at that time. Okay, thanks. At the time when he joined the SIAP, I was actually, I'm older than him, so he was not there. So the project that I did, the Water Research Commission funded a multi-projects, but in a mega, in one big project that was happening in the Western Cape. So my expertise was mainly on the fish, looking at the fish, but I know there was a macro invertebrate component of it. And then there was also a hepatology aspect of it. It was a whole range of things. So for me to come there, actually there was also an aquaculture, so it was some kind of different universities. So what I'm trying to say is to commend the work that the WRC is doing, because I'm a product of that. I graduated my MSc, it was 2010 that time. So apparently, yes, it's just to echo that the work that is being done, it has got a huge impact. But before I finish that research that they funded me, I happened to get, I moved from NRF, I got employed by the provincial government. I'm representing the Eastern Cape Department of Economic Development, Environmental Affairs and Tourism. So I'm working there as a freshwater ecologist. So apparently, it's quite the work that is happening. It's quite phenomenal. I've been to the Eastern Cape, I think 2001 when I was working for SIAP, NRF. So I've been doing all this kind of work, and then now moving to the provincial government of the Eastern Cape. So since 2008 until today. So I come back. One other thing I should have mentioned earlier on. I'm an alumni of this university. Having done two master's degrees, one in the science faculty that the WRC funded, and also another one in the business school where I did a project also on research under small-scale fisheries. So yes, so all these degrees, they come very well, they tied in very well. So it's just to share. Really the work that you are doing, it's quite an amazing. In fact, I'm collaborating with this environmental DNA that he's saying, he was talking about. So just to show the government, the provincial government, the integration of provincial government, the research institution like the NRF, the work that is being done. So it's quite nice that these things, they just come together. So without wasting time, so I thought I was going to mention that, but I don't know, in the interest of time, I was interested to talk about to interrogate the earlier talks, the talks that in the morning. Oh, yes, thank you. Yes, I actually, what I've gathered, I'm going to touch base the work, the presentation that Andrew Lucas presented earlier on, and also the colleague from SALGA. So, And at the presentation, they all were touch basing the issue of governance. You know, like as I was saying, I'm coming from business school, so I'm kind of seeing these things, the science and the integration of the science and also policy making. So I'm kind of seeing things, they tend to come together. So someone was also saying, another speaker, you know, we do this science, but one thing that is lacking is to get the social scientists to come and take this science in a language that is going to be edible to the policy makers. So that is the missing thing. I think the main issue on that was the issue of governance. But one most important thing, I'm not putting my colleague from SALGA on a spotlight. I think it's a problem of all of us, the issue of governance. I mean, it was mentioned that, I noted, you said you are, as SALGA, you are the mouth of the municipalities, right? Yes. So my problem is a little bit of a problem. Just it's a thought-provoking thing. Is that I know across the countries we do have those municipalities that have come under administration. So apparently, I just wanted you to have some little bit of a talk. What is your role in trying to kind of assist? Because I think it's a major thing. There are those municipalities that they are really struggling. The fact that if you are their mouth, so apparently before they get to administration, you should give them a bit of what we call you hit them. So the guys, we don't want to see you on the administration. So I just wanted you to kind of have some bite on that because it's a very, very important thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Because of time, maybe if there's another comment or question before I go to Saga. I know there's no energy, but there's coffee and tea ready anyway. Okay.
Following on from your statement, which I agree with, I live in Grahamstown for my sins. And the problem is we can identify, and the WRC can identify two major problems, one with water quantity and another with water quality. But actually, when we have identified issues, which we have, and the WRC is aware of it, no one has been able to enable our municipality to actually follow those advices that are given to it. So I was involved in doing quantitative and qualitative water analyses many, many years ago when I worked at the Department of Ichthyology and Fisheries Science, as Andrew Lucas knew. And we identified certain issues and we reported them. But no one could do it. WRC, the departments, couldn't enforce those findings on the municipality. And the situation is even worse now than it was, and that was in 2006. So when is it ever going to improve, and what are we putting in place to assist our municipalities who definitely need assistance, but that assistance, once it's given and financed, it must be made accountable and enforceable, because otherwise there's intimidation, there's all sorts of other issues involved, which we all know about. But the water issue gets more and more serious. And we're a university and scholarly town. How do students on the 4th floor of the Reds just up here flush toilets? How can they survive? The university has been threatened with closure on more than one occasion, and then the city will die. We need water. 4 days without water, and the city closes. Now, what I'm asking all of you here is, let's work towards not just Grahamstown, but for the country, towards implementation of all our research findings, which I've heard today. We must be able to implement them, and that's the problem.
Thank you. So how do we work together towards implementation? I know you have some ideas, Dix, but I will come back to you. You've spoken a lot today, so and you have
That's the sad part. When you say SALGA and there's municipality, we always, yes. But I think we always have to really unpack the role of SALGA whenever we find ourselves in this platform. So when we say that we are the sole voice and the representative, unfortunately, it's what they say. It's not coming from me, it's not coming. So even the structures within SALGA, it's made up of municipalities to the highest. I think the highest structure within SALGA, it's called the NSC, it's the municipalities. So it's what they say. In whatever that they say, in whatever angle, what I present, it's what they say. And secondly, constitutionally, we don't have a mandate to whip. We just advise. Whether they take it or not, that's the unfortunate part. We don't, and we can't whip someone that we represent by nature of it. But then the governance, touching from governance, it's something I think even in our provincial assembly that we had, it was one of the key things that was discussed to say that how do we, because also what we also find is that everyone is supporting the municipalities. But what is happening? Where can each and everyone pinpoint the municipality? Because everyone that they talk, as much as they will say municipalities this, municipalities this, they say that they support the municipalities. But how do we collaboratively find the support? Because I will take one simple municipality, a small municipality. There's one technical director, there's one water manager, there's one, but each and every one wants a bit of that. It's one of the cries from the municipality to say that, can't you collaborate all this? We can't listen. Today is this one, today is that one. That is why in my earlier comment is to say that they can't even measure themselves. And if you go to the municipality, they tend to shy away because they are used into compliance. And I like the comment from the latter speaker to say that how do we support, how do we find expression in terms of supporting these municipalities, because they've been used into compliance. And now probably they've developed some kind of scapegoat to say that, oh, they will come. How do I cook the books? I'm making an example, because everything has been centered around compliance more than how do we support, because everyone in this room is supporting municipalities, but also we're saying that municipalities are like this. So where is the support? Thanks, sir.
Thank you. There was a... This, you wanted to say something?
Yes, it's a solution this time. Thanks, Chair. I just want to touch on the issue of silos that Professor Modi talked about this morning, that the institutions are working in silos. It would be much better to consolidate, but as we proceed during the day, you can see that colleagues are actually starting to work with each other. But maybe what is still missing is working with the communities. Where are the social scientists in this whole business? So as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about how do we do away with this silo in an impactful way. WRC has just gone through a 5-year strategy, which is outcomes-based and community-driven. And we have committed there that, my colleague, I can't see your name, we will look at where can we make impact with the legal that we have by pulling as much of this knowledge to that point. And one of the things we're going to follow is where are the water services challenges. For example, I said maybe in this case, Eastern Cape, we have talked so much about agriculture that is disintegrated. And I said, but why don't we have, for example, a program that perhaps then can be driven by a directed call, which will make sure that you talk to experts from different organizations, universities. You cannot do it alone. then you will be forced to talk to the colleagues, and we go into we call it a model catchment, my friend. We want to change that particular situation there, as reflected by the stakeholders on the ground. So I think this is one way that we can start addressing some of the big programs, not small projects. How many teeth are in a may fly? Yes, that is okay, but we now need to lift this. And I think those major programs that can run for 5, 10, 15 years, kind of a commitment. Jennifer said here, our CEO, we want at least to go home back after spending 2 days with 2 solutions. To me, I think we need to really move towards this model catchment. Where are the challenges and how can we change that? We can't just talk about agriculture that produces cannabis and it sits there by the bottom in the chain. We want to talk about cannabis that reaches Denmark. And that is the value chain in that agriculture. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's something that you can strategize and say after 5 years, 10 years, etc. Same applies to ecotourism. We are blessed with the landscape and the ocean and all of that. But none of the presentations earlier talk about how to maximize or optimize our benefits from ecotourism. It's a big thing. We can do it. Thank you.
Okay, Office of the Premier, let me know.
Thanks, Program Director. I just wanted to contribute in terms of responding to the question of how do we make sure that the research work gets to be implemented at the municipal level. I think we can take this gathering at the starting point. The second one is the alignment of your research topics with provincial research agendas. Because what you will then now find is that the research that you are talking about and the issues that the province is obsessed with, they are misaligned. Now in the province we have high unemployment, we have high number of child-headed households, and then high number of GBV cases. So there's no research that is talking about those issues. So 1, 2, the alignment. I mean, I've heard the research that we have presented here, but I haven't had a recommendation that says this product is ready, or this research is ready to be piloted at a large scale. Or this initiative, I'm looking for data collectors. I'm looking for, this initiative can create 1,000 jobs for data collectors. So that is the part that is it's lacking. And then the last one is government is organized differently than the private sector. So the municipalities where you are going, that's where service delivery is taking place. But that's not where policies are designed. So your research needs to find a way in which it could enter the provincial IGR system and cluster system. So if you're doing a research in social science, there is a cluster for social security. So that report needs to be presented there. It can be adopted as a provincial policy and a position, so that we as the Office of the Premier, when we go to the municipalities and provincial department, we can then now monitor them on the basis of the evidence that you have produced. But the problem that we have is that sometimes you produce a report or a research topic, and then you also want to force the municipality to buy the product you are selling. And the municipality tells you, no, I cannot buy it to you because I have procurement processes and policies that I need to follow. That's where the clashes comes together. So therefore, I think just in summary, we then now need to feed into the existing governance and government structures so that it can be easier. And I think this platform, it's forming that starting point. Next time we should have municipalities here, and then next time you should be able to say, as here in the Eastern Cape, in Makanda, here are the research that we have done. in Kokama, here are the research that we have done. We can easily go there. When Kokama says, I want money to drill boreholes, we'll tell, no, the research by WRC says, no, there's no groundwater in Kokama. But currently there's no such. So I think that's where we might be able to do justice to your answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. So I think one of the key lessons here is that there needs to be more talking to one another between the researchers, the scholars on the one hand, and the government and the implementers. Because, you know, I've worked with municipalities a lot. To be honest, I don't want to work in a municipality. It's a difficult place to work. It's a very difficult place and difficult job to do. So, because the daily business of service delivery is already tough. So you don't really have enough time to think or to innovate. You are just in the business of repairing pipes and leakage and all of that. Anyway, I'm looking at the time. I'm just going to allow just one more person, and then we break for tea, and then tomorrow we will reconvene.
I just wanted to highlight the fact that in terms of the research topics that we do as WRC, there's quite a lot of avenues that are followed. The RDI team maybe has talked about it several times, but the recent way we look at what government is expecting from the WRC, ourselves together with the Department of Water and Sanitation National Office, we work through the Knowledge Management Unit, which actually conducts their own internal assessments and work with the provinces to actually pinpoint the topics that are actually required by the department. And it's a very lengthy process. We also sit with them together as WRC, and we sift and say, no, this is not actually a research topic, it's an operational issue from the department side. And then we clean up, we call it a database, research database. It's a DWS research database. And we clean it such that it remains with what is doable in terms of research. So that process, if maybe the department can just take advantage of the fact that we are engaging now in the second phase of doing that. So it's only starting now. I just got an email recently from the Knowledge Management Office that we need to start looking at the topics that are possible. Those topics are then looked at by our research managers when they issue calls for research. I just wanted to highlight that fact.
Thank you. You 1 minute.
This is just to follow on from what I've been saying and from what other people have said. And that is, I think that the WRC and all of us involved in water research, I think it's, to a certain extent, the confusion is our fault. I'll give you one example. If you look at SANS 241 on water quality guidelines and what's actually enforceable if those guidelines are not met. Just take one example of aluminium. We have two levels of aluminium, 300 micrograms per litre and 500 micrograms per litre. In the EU, it's 200 micrograms per litre. But we've measured 13,000 micrograms per litre in pulses in Grahamstown. But so the first point is, actually in the guidelines, we need to say what is enforceable and what's not, because we look at aesthetics of water, we look at whether it's toxic and how toxic it is. It's not easy, I know that. But we need to have proper guidelines that municipalities can actually follow. And once they find from their water testing, if they're doing it properly, and a lot of them aren't, it's very expensive and complicated. Just having accredited laboratories is not easy. So get your samples done and make sure they're frozen. The problem is that there's no accountability. If we find that, an example is aluminium, which can lead to presenile dementia, Alzheimer's, kidney failure, acidosis of the blood, it goes on. There's a reason why we have a limit. And if it's 10 times that limit, what legal recourse is there? And shouldn't we be advising government so there can be a proper due diligence and legal process so that if there's negligence on behalf of a municipality, it is a constitutional right to have water available, and not just available of the right quality. It's a constitutional right, but the Constitution can't be enforced unless the guidelines are tightened up. And that's, I think, one of the responsibilities of the WRC.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for drawing our attention to that again. That we have constitutional rights and we have to ensure that everybody does what they need to do, really. Okay, we've done very well. We started a bit late, but I've only eaten about 15 or 16 minutes of your time. We're supposed to be closing at 15:30, and we've really done well. So please, thank you so much. We have tea and coffee, I think, ready on the other side of the hall. Please, tomorrow we will be back here at, if you've not registered, then you have to be here by 8. Registration is between 8 and 9. And then the program will start officially at 9 a.m. Thank you so much. Thank you for being very engaged and contributing. And thank you to the Water Research Commission, to everyone who is here, from especially our sister university, and the Office of the Premier, the municipalities, SAGA, the provincial department, and every other person that is here. Please, thank you so much for coming. I hope to see you again tomorrow. Please have a cup of coffee and tea.